Welcome back to another episode of Hobby Time in the Murder Basement, where I get to sit down and talk with Squidmar. Yep, that's Squidmar. We have an awesome conversation, talk about all sorts of cool stuff. If you don't mind, would you give this channel a like and a subscribe? Share with all your friends. Help boost the signal. Somehow, this algorithm's got to find us. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it.
So, for everything I did, I felt like I found like a better community, a better place to be where just people are supportive and excited, and you kind of learn as you go to select your battles.
Sure.
No matter how much I love music, it's just such a toxic place to be in.
Well, I've said this multiple times, like it is always just absolutely devastating to love something more than it loves you back.
Yeah.
And like that, like music, it's all passion and it never gives anything back. Like it is the 100% like creation. It never reciprocates the way that you expect it to. And
because everyone's a musician. That's the thing. Like everyone's a musician, and you're jealous at the one who gets that show that you want to play. They're jealous because you got that record deal. They're jealous because you're touring. So they're just gonna bash on you until you quit, and they can take over that place.
And then the next person can bash on them till they quit.
Yeah, sure. Unless you're like you get to that point where you're like Slipknot or those huge bands that sell out an arena.
You know, the interesting thing about those huge bands that, as much as I love seeing success, and especially now, like, I didn't realize that, like, are you familiar with Max Weinberg from Conan O'Brien and Bruce Springsteen, the drummer?
No. Yeah, if I saw him, I probably recognize him, but it doesn't ring a bell.
His son is the drummer for Slipknot.
Okay.
Which is a really funny thing because like his dad's like
it's not Joe Jordison playing there anymore.
No, I guess he's back with the band. I guess I don't. I
haven't been in the metal scene for 10 years now, so
right. It's been much longer for me. I as soon as I got away from playing in metal bands, I was like, it was when I moved to the Midwest, and like, I don't know what it's like over there, but when I moved to Midwest, like, I was over grunge. Like, we were done with grunge out on the West Coast. But here in the Midwest, people were still, like, listening to, like, Alice in Chains. Like, they were a new band, and they had been broken up for 12 years. And I was like, ooh, boy, this is this is really weird. And so trying to like start a metal band or an extreme music project here was a non-starter. It was not happening.
Yeah. Oh man.
Well, I started recording us just because like I figure we're in it, and it takes a second. So Emil, thank you so much for joining me in the Murder Basement. It's early morning in Sweden. It is super late night in St. Louis, so like I'm sorry if I fall asleep while we're talking. I've only had an hour of sleep in the last 48 hours.
You look fine.
Hey, it's all good. It's all good. Emil, you have had one of the more fun to watch careers on YouTube because you kind of came out of nowhere, and everything you just start seeing your like Squidmar logo pop up every time I would open up YouTube, and I was like, what the hell is going on with what is this name, Squidmar? This is and then I clicked on it and I was like, oh shit, this is a very handsome man painting like very nice models. I was like, brought my wife in, I'm like, check it out, look at this guy. And she's like, yeah, whatever. She's like so not interested in miniatures. And I had that moment of just being like, I did not know that miniature painting was going to be where all the cool guys would land, but it seems like an amazing amount of cool guys have landed in the miniature painting world, and it like kind of totally took me by surprise.
For me, it's yeah, it's- cool guy. I don't know about that, but thank you.
Thing. So, one of the things that I like to talk about in the show, and I don't know if you've listened to any of the episodes or anything, I like to talk about like the genesis of a YouTube channel because like, you know, you talk about like your history and all your videos, and I encourage
Mhm.
anybody who's listening to this to go and just like deep dive your vids because they're excellent. I mean, and from the get-go, they were a really high quality, you know, like they've gotten better, but like,
I
you
feel like
know,
I've gotten better.
yeah, oh
You
sure.
talk like relaxed from in front of the camera, and
Well, but you always had editing. You understood
yeah.
flow in a very similar way that like Jeremy understood those things, and you know, Scott Miniac, like, you know, all of you guys have this kind of mastery of telling a visual narrative in your videos, and so they aren't filled with a bunch of just like dead air and useless information. You know, like that's one of those
Mhm.
things that like um it's it's hard to explain to people. Like sometimes they're just too deep in the weeds of their YouTube video, and you guys have just made it seem like effortless. Like this is just what we're doing. This is how you teach people how to do
Yeah.
stuff, and it's kind of magic.
Yeah, I mean it's not that easy, you know, it's not like I started from zero, and it's the same thing with painting because a lot of people are like you're crazy because you painted like that after 6 months or 10 months or whatever. But I've been doing arts since I was 14 probably, like
Sure.
like seriously. Started getting commissions from record labels for doing like album covers, websites from I think it was around 14 or 15, and
Whoa.
so that's kind of the like I've always done that stuff. I did music videos. We did like video blogs for bands and stuff like that. And then I worked 8 years running my own business professionally as a like in advertising, doing video and photography, and directing. So this is different in many ways, but I can utilize everything that I've learned in the past 15, 18 years and take that into this. So maybe I start at 70% while others start at zero. So I can just like climbing up those last 30 is a lot easier for me than
Sure,
starting at zero.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you have like family in the biz or anything like that, or were you just like always super driven as a kid? Because like it's always a weird thing being a musician, being creative, being an
Yeah.
artist. Those are things that are like solely in you, but they have to be nurtured to like be expressed properly.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because you know you like to think that you're different from your parents, uh, but
Right.
so like none of them were like big musicians. My like I come from a family of like Christian people, and a
Sure.
lot of them were like active in churches and things like that. So they were always doing stuff that they thought were important for them. For them, it was going to church. For me, it was like learning about metal bands and listening to metal music. And because like I get this like hyper focused. I know Scott liked to talk about it as like being a try hard. For me, it's more about like I get so hyper focused that I can't do anything else.
Sure.
So if I get excited about painting miniatures, it's like everything else gets boring. It becomes a chore. So if I don't make it my full-time job, I'm gonna be miserable. And that's the way it's been like that since I was a kid. So when I was 14, 15, it was like taking photos and making websites. I got so excited about it. Like school was so boring that during school hours, I was just sitting there making website, designing t-shirts and stuff. And yeah, when I was working at an electronics store, I got super excited about like getting better at photography. And after like a year being hyped about it, I just couldn't be at the store anymore, so I had to like pursue that career. So it's I don't know if it's a disease, maybe they have letters for it.
I mean, like, there's probably a good dose of, you know, ADHD, which is something that I think a lot of us creatives suffer from and have never been actually truly diagnosed. But like,
Yeah.
I do the same thing, man. Like, I mean, like, you can't really see it behind me, but like, I used to build synths. Like, I was like, I know that if I take these things and I solder them together, I can run electricity through it and cool sounds come out of it. And I had no idea. Like, it was like high stakes Legos to me. Some comedian called, you know, like model kits high stakes Legos, and I was like, no, this is the true high stakes Legos, as your thousands of dollars in components are into it, and one wrong move and it'll all light up and you'll get magic smoke coming out of it because you just burnt up all your components. Like,
And your house.
yeah, in your house. We actually had an electrician come out because there was this like burnt electrical smell in the house. And he was the most scared of my studio when I was doing all that. He's like, walked in the room. He's like, he's like, this is not a safe place. I was like, no, it's perfectly safe. It's just not organized. Turns out, you know, like the furnace went out, or, you know, it wasn't actually anything like dangerous. But he saw my room and about shit his pants. It was hilarious.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'll never touch electronics. That's it's dangerous.
It's only dangerous when you want to do something like build guitar amps. Like that's the real danger. And if you have that weird boutique guitar amp thing, like building a tube amp, you can do that. But that is like lethal electricity. You could actually kill yourself doing it. And I'm like, nah, I don't need to do that one.
You can do it.
So going from doing things, touring in bands, doing advertising, like why YouTube? Like, was YouTube kind of always going to be a thing? You just needed a topic, or was that just a natural evolution of the advertising side?
So I've been trying to, because I always overanalyze things, and this is one of the things that I've been kind of having at the back of my head, because as a band, like, we did YouTube, obviously. Like, I was 17 when we posted the first video to YouTube. I gotta see what year that was. I think it's like 2000. It's 14 years ago, so that's gotta be 2006.
Nice.
And that video had, I remember at that time, like after a few months, it had like 250,000 views or something.
Holy shit.
And we thought that was like amazing. We're gonna be rock stars, you know.
Yeah.
And we never got to that success again. But I mean, that was amazing. We had so much fun. We did like touring vlogs and stuff, but it was always like a means to get bigger shows, to get bigger tours, get a better record deal. And so I did that, you know, 20 years ago, or not 20, 14 years ago.
Yeah.
And then I just like didn't think about it. And then I started painting miniatures, and I had an Instagram account, and I did I had a Facebook sort of commission page where it's like, yeah, I accept one commission per month, and you know, if you want something, write me a message. That's what I have time for. Then last summer I just did a video where I unboxed a box I got, because one of my friends told me, like, you have to do this on YouTube. You have to make a YouTube account, because this is going to be your life. And he was, in small words, fucking right. So he's solely to blame for it. And for me, it was just like, I'm going to make an unboxing video, and if I have fun, I'll make another one. And I made another one, and after like 5 videos, I had a few thousand subscribers, and yeah, that was down the road.
That's some amazing growth. I mean, like, Guy told me the same thing. Like, he had 3 videos up, and he had, you know, a couple thousand subscribers already. And I was like, that is it's phenomenal to see that because like right now, I don't know if it's, how different it is, like, because, people like Marco kind of came out of nowhere, very similar and got a huge following. But like in this post-COVID world, because there's so many of us doing this right now, and the same with like Twitch and YouTube Live, it's almost like oversaturation of content right now. Like some people, man, I feel so bad. Their efforts are like they're putting the time in, but they're not getting the traction that they should.
Yeah, but like Marco Frisoni and I think we started around the same time. It's like a year, 2 months ago or something. But there's so much to YouTube, and like so much is a guessing game, and I still learn every week. And sometimes you try to chase the algorithm, because like the bigger you get, the more you kind of understand what works and what doesn't. But at the same time, you understand how clueless you are.
Sure.
And sometimes you make stuff because you try to chase the algorithm, and you end up getting burnt because it almost never works. And then you go back to making stuff for yourself, and some of it doesn't work and some of it blows up. And it's so difficult to to say, but it's like good content, good flow, good thumbnails, good titles. Like that's the magic trifecta of things you need to keep track of.
Sure.
Other than that, it's like, do people like watching you? If they do, they're gonna watch another video. But for YouTube to recommend the stuff, it's like people have to watch every video, like at least 50% of the video on average. You have to have at least 10% of people who get recommended the video to click the video, and that stuff is like it's hard.
Well, and like even short videos don't get watched all the way through. Like I was talking with Casey, and he's like, maybe 20% of the people make it to the end of my videos, and he's got like 12-minute long videos, and they're very good. And you're just like, how the hell are you not just watching the entire video? Like what is going on there?
And because the hard thing is like to know what people want to watch. So a painting tutorial, I get a lot of like questions from people like, why aren't you making more painting tutorials? Why aren't you doing a how to paint this figure? And the thing is like, nobody is gonna click a video about how to paint I don't know, Lord of the Rings fantasy character unless they have that character and they don't know how they want to paint it. And it's just the sad truth. So
well, I mean, like your Beastgrave videos seem to do very well for you. I mean, not Beastgrave, sorry, Warcry. Your Warcry videos did really well for you.
It's actually one of my least viewed videos. So it's
really. That was like the one that was always being recommended to me, and like I had already watched it. I was like, okay, YouTube, chill your fucking jets. I've seen this.
I mean, I have worse videos, but it's like way below average. I think it has like 50,000 views, which is, believe me, that's a crazy number, but it's been out for a year. And like most of my year-old videos are at like 70 to 100,000 views.
Sure.
So I do enjoy painting figures, but painting them like in front of a camera, and you have to sit weirdly, and like if you move it 1 millimeter off, it's gonna get out of the way, and if you move your head a bit further in the front, you're gonna have your head in front of the camera. So painting stuff for videos, like it's not as fun as just painting. So when I do painting tutorials, I like to make them more about like a subject. So it's when I feel I have something I can teach, something that's valuable for people. So I did like a how to paint faces, and I talk about how light falls on faces, and like right now I'm working on a video like how to paint hair on miniatures, and with that I feel like I can teach something, and it's something that like even if you're not interested in painting that specific Warcry dude, you can watch the video and you can go back to the video in 2 years when you're gonna paint a bust that has a lot of hair and learn something.
Right. So. Well, and that's like a really interesting aspect too of like, just because a video may not hit right now, like maybe it does down the road, you know,
Yeah,
maybe,
sure.
and that's another aspect of, you know, the mystery of YouTube that
Oh
I'll
God, yeah.
never totally understand.
It's
So like everybody talks about the sprint, the YouTube sprint. Like,
Mhm.
did you start off doing the sprint? Were you like already full-time YouTube by the time you started doing YouTube, or like, because it seemed like you made the switch to full-time YouTube very quickly.
Yeah, so this is kind of, I don't remember exactly how soon or like when I came to a point where I could make enough money from it, but it's kind of so I ran my own business as an advertising photographer. I just came off a job where I did a TV advertising, and I shot like a full catalog for like the biggest house building company in Sweden. So I got like a bunch of cash, and it's not astronomical numbers by
Right.
any means, but it was enough for me to last at least a few months. And I knew like if I don't get a single dollar from this or a single dollar from any other client that I used to have, like I'll be fine for a few months. So I painted a lot during that time, and I did the first few videos, and like I didn't get any more jobs during that summer. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just like do videos during the summer, and I'm not gonna chase any clients. I'm just gonna like whatever happens happens. And as I said, after like 5 or 6 videos, I saw that like there's potential in this, and like I started talking a bit to Scott from Miniac, and like how he monetizes, and like how soon you can start making enough money to actually make a living from it. And I knew kind of how much money I needed to bring in the coming 6 months. And for me, I like directly saw like there's potential in this. If I bring in $1,000 every month, it will last me for half a year instead of 3-4 months. And yeah, so that was just kind of the way it went. And then in January this year, I had done YouTube for 6 months, and that's kind of where the first month where I was like, I have enough uh, this month to cover this month, you know.
That seems
And
so like it feels like years ago now. Like
yeah,
that's how much stuff has happened in
yeah,
2020.
dude, yeah,
Because like I remember you
crazy.
talking about that and being like, dude, so cool. I'm so glad that he's
Yeah,
like doing it. You know, like
yeah,
the
it's
fact that that was
crazy.
only
Yeah,
January is
yeah,
insane.
that's crazy.
And you have managed to keep that momentum going. Like you haven't
Yeah, no,
stopped.
yeah. I had a bit of a with the Kickstarter this summer. I took 3 weeks after, like not full on vacation, but like only doing the minimum required stuff because I was so drained after that. But other than that, it's been like one video a week or 2 videos a week for a year.
That's
Yeah.
so much work. It's so much work. And I am technically in the YouTube sprint at the moment, and I'm
Mhm.
mainly terrified because like I'm a picture framer as my trade, and come the holidays, and literally have no idea what the holidays are in this, you know, post-COVID world. Like
Yeah, yeah,
maybe it's
sure.
nothing, and maybe I'm not freaking out about it, but if it's anything like it is now, I'm going to like not be able to do interviews. Like I won't have the freedom to show up late to work tomorrow and, you know, hang
Yeah.
out with you at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, and that is something that actually I didn't think I cared that much about this, but like
Hmm.
I actually do. Like I actually
Yeah.
do care. Like that, and that's something that like, you know, from music, I didn't know that things mattered until they were already gone. This is the
Yeah.
first time that something's mattered while I'm like dead center in the middle of
Yeah.
it.
In it.
Did you
Yeah.
have like a similar sort of feel really early on?
Um. So I guess like because it was a transition. Like I started with painting miniatures. That's December 2000. Is it 17? When I picked up my first figures again and started painting like the coming months after I build it up together. And because I was so tired of like chasing clients, I had a few like really shitty clients who just,
Uh,
they paid, but it wasn't worth the
it
effort.
wasn't
I was
worth it.
so,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I was so drained. Like it was having like a, you know, uh, dictator over your shoulder, like do this, and didn't matter if I did like the best stuff I've ever done, nothing was good enough. So I was just so tired of it. So I started painting miniatures and really excited about that. Started painting more and more and more, and really quickly understood that like the community here is something that's different. It's not like anything else. In like if photography or advertising or music, there's always this like competition. It's always like a big competition. In miniature painting, it's more like your own competition, because you want to get better, you want to grow bigger on YouTube, you want to have more followers on Instagram, but it's never someone else telling you like, dude, you only have 1,000 subscribers, like your channel is worth nothing. It's
True.
never like that. It's always the opposite. Like, this guy only has 1,000 subs, dude, we gotta hype him up.
Right. The
like,
glass
it's
is
so
always half
different.
full. Yeah.
Yeah. It's different when you get bigger. but
Sure.
but that was kind of so really quickly on, I understood that this is something that I want to be part of. Like this, I want more of this. And that was, transitioning quickly, from my old job to the YouTube stuff, felt so natural, because I was so tired of the old stuff. I was so excited about the new stuff. I felt like the community was so good. Like, yeah, I can't imagine now going back. That's the yeah, I just gotta get this stuff working for another 10 years or whatever.
Right. So what's like the local community like for you there? Because you brought in a couple painters,
Yeah.
and were they all local guys that you
sure.
knew from the shop?
Yeah.
They were crazy. Like I don't have any painters like that around me here that I would meet at a shop. Like I have Chris Surrey like 45 minutes away, and he's an incredible painter, but him and I will never accidentally run into each other.
No.
Like when I saw that, and I was like, if this is who he's painting with, no wonder like his caliber is here, because like if that's your peers, you're going to like perform better,
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. So the thing is, like, when I got started, I just wanted to paint like for myself. I never expected to play in a tournament or anything like that.
Sure.
So I got to know all of these dudes when I showed up, like at my first tournament with like a painted army, and I had already painted for 9 months. But I live in a town. It's like 130,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a mid-sized town in Sweden. In the States, it's a tiny one.
St. Louis size. It's cool.
Yeah. But there is this store that's been around here since the mid-90s, Fantasia North. And I used to go there when I was a kid, when I was like 10 to 15 or whatever. And it's been around during the whole time. It's the same guy running it. And he's been this core of the community for 25, 30 years now.
Wow.
He started it when he was 15 or 16 or something. And every year he does 2 tournaments. It's been the biggest tournaments in Sweden for, I think, 20 years. Don't quote me on this, but I think it's 20 years. And it's like 200 people, 150 to 200 people every year that goes to this tournament. And like not even in Stockholm, which is 20 times as big, they have this big tournament. So he's been sort of the center of everything, and every time there's new people coming in, they go through his store, and everyone is positive there. There's no like inner competition, there's no one pushing people down. It's always like encouraging new people to come in. And I don't know, it's just been like the creativity is on top. We have, I would say, probably 10 painters or like builders or whatever that's on like a internationally high level in a city that's 1/20th of Stockholm or 1/40th of Paris.
Wow.
So it's and I think a lot of that is just like the positivity among the community, and like everyone just encourages people to be part of it. And
Does where you're at in Sweden, do you go through like the 30 days of light, like 30 days of darkness sort of thing, where you only get a couple hours? Do you have those months where you just kind of like everybody's just shut in? Just
it's
that's
like
the way
6 months.
Yeah,
that's like that here.
I love that idea. I think I mean, like, I don't know, if I was born in it, it would be different, but like now I don't know if I could handle it. But I often wonder because like here in the States, the northern states, there is a very high number of like hobbyists and high level hobbyists. You know,
Yeah.
you got like Sam and Adam, like they're up
Yeah.
there, Scott, you know, and John.
Sure. Yeah.
It's really interesting to think that like, you know, the higher up you go, the colder you get, like the better
There's
people are
nothing else to
getting.
do. Yeah.
There's nothing else to do. You make babies or you paint miniatures.
Yeah,
Like,
sure. I mean, there was the same discussion in like the music industry because, like, if you look at the rest of the world, like, if we compare like the metal scene in Spain to Sweden, it's like the amount of bands that's succeeding at good is so much higher. Because in Umeå we had like Nocturnal Rites, we had Meshuggah, we had Refused, we had Nagelfar, Persuader, and all these bands that were signed by like big labels. None of them were like Slipknot size, obviously, but it's bands that grew like really good and unique because the only thing they could do in half the year was to
to practice,
stay
get
inside
good.
and practice, and I think absolutely that makes a difference. But I also think that like at least our city, I don't know about like the rest of Sweden, but like they've always been like super focused on creativity and culture. And just a few years ago my city was like named the cultural capital of Europe, like a tiny city in the north of Sweden which nobody knows about.
That's amazing.
And it's been like that since I was a kid. Like when I was 10 years old, like Refused were touring the world and everyone looked up to them, and yeah, it's just been like that.
Dude,
Always.
The Refused is one of those like magical stories of like how the hell they came out of that, and then how that what level of ego and self belief makes an album like The Shape of Punk to Come. Like that's one of those that like you can listen to now and it still feels like modern
that
and
album
current,
is
and it's
so good. Yeah,
it's crazy. You know, it's 22 years old now.
Yeah.
It's 22 years old now. It can drink.
It's
It's
crazy.
and you know, like I think the Hives are from there as well. And I just got
not from my city, but they're from, I don't know, I gotta look. I mean, they might be from Stockholm.
They are my new favorite live band that I feel so bad that I've skipped them in the past because they work harder than any band I've ever seen to make sure that everyone in the crowd is having a good time. Like band is, and they're not young anymore, and they're still working
40
hard.
plus.
Yeah.
So it's more in the center of Sweden, but it's like a small city. So it's probably similar in terms of culture, like with there's always like rehearsal rooms where you can go. There's schools for music, schools for painting, like that stuff's everywhere in Sweden. So
imagine it, just a country that actually loves the arts. Like what is that like?
You know, the craziest thing in Sweden, they have this thing called in Swedish the word is studiecirkel. So it's pretty much like a circle of studies, a study circle. And I think this was invented like probably 50 years ago, where either it was for people who didn't go to school, they could go like after work and learn English or learn stuff like that. But they started including culture in that. So if you had a group of more than 3 people, you could apply for this, and pretty much everyone gets approved unless you're doing something really fishy, like doing drugs during these hours. And you could get paid. It's not much. It's like $3 per hour. But if you're a kid and you're 15 years old and you want to rehearse every day, 3 hours, you'd get paid $3 as a group per hour you're practicing. So at the end of every month, we would have like $150 that we could spend on renting a rehearsal place, buy new gear. We could record a demo, and that stuff is crazy, and it's available for everyone in Sweden. So I think that is one of the things that just like pushes people to actually try it, because you can get a guitar if you don't have one, or
Sure.
You know.
get some merch so you can like level up, you know, like the
Absolutely,
weird
yeah.
little things that like we all like from the if you're from the music zone, like, and Scott was talking about like how the difference between mini painters and metalheads is metalheads get to wear other people's merch and mini painters have to wear their own merch because it's all a self-promotion thing,
Sure.
which I think is really cute. I'm wearing one of my favorite mini painters here in the States shirt. Because
Yeah.
I don't have any merch yet. But you know, I think that those little like leg ups go so much farther than anybody knows. And like
Yeah, sure, yeah.
this is gonna
I mean,
like
it's like if you have a rich parent who's willing to spend $150 on your hobby every month.
yeah.
I mean, that's gonna make the difference in the world.
It's huge. It's yeah, and for them, it's probably a drop in the bucket, you know. And if it
Yeah.
makes you happy, who cares? You know, like
Yeah.
it's interesting. So you instantly started having shirts. Like you started the merch zone fairly early on, and a
Mhm.
Patreon fairly early on.
Yeah, it was like 4 months in or something.
When did you decide that not only is dominating YouTube and having a nice little like merch business, like when did you go, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take all the norms and I'm going to fuck them all up and do this Kickstarter because like I'm sitting back and when that first happened, I was like so jealous. I didn't have money to throw at it at the time,
Yeah.
and I had
It's
friends
fine.
that were like, "No, we've been like saving up," and I was like, "No, you don't understand. Like, I would have to buy all the busts. You couldn't just pick one. Like, it's you know $400 or nothing for me." And so I was like, I'm just gonna sit back and watch it. And I was like, I bet you this ends up at like a little over $100,000, and it
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like
That
did
was
that
like my
almost instant.
crazy, like my crazy goal was like, if I get to $200,000, that's gonna
Right.
be so ridiculous that I'm gonna, go to sleep crying because it's so high.
It's
And
high, yeah.
we reached that in like 48 hours.
Yeah,
So
it was insane watching
yeah.
that, and it was so exciting, like because I just kept on checking back over and over again. I think I messaged you like literally like a day before you launched the Kickstarter, and I was like, oh, I'm not talking to him for like another 6 weeks. Like, there's
Yeah.
literally no way that I will ever fit into this right now, and
Yeah.
and so I just like sat back and watched, and it was so exciting, and
It was
the
glorious.
watching all the enthusiasm in all the chat rooms and Discord and the Trapped Under Plastic boys. That was like
Yeah.
it was amazing to see that happen, and I
Yeah,
had
that
no idea
was
that the mini companies had that. Like, had no
yeah.
idea.
No, it was. I mean, if, I don't know how to express gratitude enough for that. It's so insane. The comments I get, though it's funny now about it. It's like, how does it feel to be a millionaire? It's like, you don't know how the Swedish tax system works.
No,
So-
and you have to pay everybody along the way,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah.
man,
I mean,
importing.
I'm getting some money left over, obviously.
Sure,
Like,
of course.
otherwise, I wouldn't do it if I would lose money. But it's a lot of work and it's so much fun. Like the reason why I wanted to do it, I think we started it like even before I started my YouTube channel. We started talking to different brush brands because I used Raphael brushes before.
Sure.
And like I really enjoyed them, and there was nothing wrong with them, but like they weren't my perfect brush,
Yeah.
And the same thing was for like Winsor Newton. I tried. I think I calculated up to I had like 70 brushes before the Kickstarter, because I just wanted to try everything and see what like was my preference and.
Sure.
And yeah, then we just like started talking to Da Vinci, and that was like almost a year's process until the Kickstarter came, until we like had the finished product. We had all like the marketing material done, and we tried them enough to feel safe about the product. So it was a long project, and I'm, as I said, like I always get, when I start with something, I'm like, this I can only do this stuff. So the brushes was just a natural thing, like I have to do it because I'm excited about it, so I have to do it. And yeah, that's what came
Did Da
about.
Vinci ever say, eventually we're gonna run out of like Sable, like you can't sell anymore? Like, did they ever give you like a hard cap on it? Because like
No.
when I see those numbers, I'm like,
Yeah.
I bet you they had no idea what they were getting into.
No. And the thing is, like, when we reached out to them, we were like, maybe we'll sell 1,000 sets. Like, so that would be ordering 5,000 brushes or something.
Yeah.
And
which is a
we
lot.
sold,
That's a lot.
Yeah. Now we're up to 9,000 backers. So
It's incredible.
it's like 1,000 was our like, you know, if we don't sell 1,000 during the Kickstarter, you know, give it a year, maybe we'll, you know, clear the stock or whatever. But no, they've been really good. At first, we had contact with the salesperson, and he was like, "Yeah, no problem. Yes, we're gonna fix it." And then we got to talk with the owner when we placed like the final order, and he's like, "This is a lot. Okay, we need to start planning."
Yeah.
So,
I mean, like it's inspiring, and like when I watched Scott do the Duchess and you know, like branch out, like I was like, this. And because I'm more of the small business mind, it's a great mini, and it's such a brilliant idea to say, I want a physical item to sell, and then like to have the course to go along with it. He's got something that, as long as somebody can produce it for him, you know, that's a whole nother income stream, because you know, ad revenue is not going to do it all. Patreon is not going to do it all.
Passive income, it's definitely like, that's the shitty part about YouTube, is like, it's everything is so uncertain. So
sure,
we can just take like the beginning of this year, when COVID hit, you know. You can censor that if you want to keep this monetized, by the way.
I don't give a shit. Like, the name of the show is Hobby Time in the Murder Basement. I'm never getting a fucking dime out of this show.
So to get back to the point, like, I was like, I'm gonna lose my patrons. Like, nobody's gonna be able to afford this, because I know it's gonna happen.
Right.
And then like the same week, Amazon was like, we're gonna cut your like affiliate, what do you call it, like the return you get from the affiliate by like 70%.
Whoa.
So I was like, I just like made a living from this in like 2 months, and now my income is gonna be gone. So what am I gonna do? So I did like a video about it. I'm like, you know, right now I'm good, but like, if you have supporters that if you have channels that you follow, you know, now it's more important than ever to support them. And Patreon grew like at that point, like, and people were like super supportive, and that was it was scary, because, you know, I thought I was gonna lose it all, and YouTube AdSense dropped to about 50%. So I went from, you know, making a few $1,000s a month from YouTube to being at like $1,500. And again, if you know the Swedish tax system, I have to pay about 60 to 66% in value-added taxes and my income tax and everything. So I was scared, you know, from that. But luckily the channel grew, so I got more views. So the income started growing again a little bit. And but it's, you know, it's scary. And if I didn't have the Kickstarter, I would probably be on, you know, sort of scared that if I have another thing drop, if Amazon drops even more, if YouTube drops even more, if I start losing patrons, you know, what am I gonna do? And now the Kickstarter came, so I've been able to hire a guy for 3 days a week, so that's covering that. And
dude, congrats! That's awesome, man.
That's insane. It feels really good.
That's something that I was wondering. I was like, there's no way that you were putting that many tubes in your house. Like, like your kids would tear them up, and your wife would leave you.
But that's
it would be the worst move in the world.
So I have Fantasia North, the local store that I told you about earlier. That guy is taking care of all of the infrastructure. So he's doing
No
all the
shit.
packaging, all of
Oh my
that
God.
stuff. And so he's getting a percentage of the cut.
Of course.
And to me, it's so valuable because I wouldn't like I worked 50 to 60 hours a week for a year doing this. I never thought it would be that much time, but it takes that much time.
Absolutely.
And now I'm able to work like 40 to 50 because now I've been able to hire a guy to help me with editing. So, Andreas takes care of the brushes.
Dude, like I can't believe that it all landed like that. Like it's like a cat falling out of a tree and just like, oh no, I meant to do that. Like here we are.
March was a scary time, I can tell you that. I was really stressed about because I have a family. I have 3 kids. I have to
3. Oh my God. Oh wow. Yeah.
That's
That's enough.
Sure it's food on the table. So, and hiring a guy, that's another whole scary thing. But I'm really happy so far. It's been working out great. So
that's awesome. So the other day, and this will kind of date this video a little bit because I actually have no idea where my schedule's at when this will go up. Probably 3 weeks from now or something. But last Saturday, Scott hopped on YouTube and streamed a live stream for the first time in a while. He had kind of like flirted with it here and there, and all of a sudden, like I had been like prodding Scott. I was like, dude, you should get back on Twitch. You should do something that breaks up your monotony. Sure. I think he's been in like a real burnout zone for a while.
Sure.
Like his content's still good, but you can tell he's not as thrilled about what he's doing. And
I think that's so weird because at the same time he's been doing some of his best videos.
Dude, they're great. They're really good.
He's so good. And I think he doesn't get enough appreciation for he changed the landscape of YouTube for miniature painters. I think of course, like Tabletop Minions, Adam, he's like the OG, but I think Scott for real. Yeah, Scott for real. He changed the scene, like single-handedly made YouTube what it is for miniature painters and Warhammer players. Hands down, it's just my opinion.
No, it's not your opinion. That's 100% fact. And and I could see how it would work where like that would happen and not getting maybe the recognition that you felt that you should. I could see that being tough.
Sure.
We've all been that person who trailblazed and someone else fucking came in and like maybe not stole your thunder, but definitely didn't have to work the same to get there. Like
sure.
it doesn't feel good.
All of us have to thank him. I mean, he's still growing. He's still making amazing videos, but if you do it, he's done it for 3 years, and that grind every week. I know how hard he works. I know how try hard he is, how much he criticizes himself, and I wish him the best because he freaking deserves it.
Well, the interesting thing was, and I'm not really. I never fall into like the starfucker category. I've been around like famous people for forever, like playing in music. It's just the thing that I'm kind of used to. And so like I was talking with him, and I've had a couple of people say, I wonder if like you had influence on him. I was like, I don't think I have influence on anybody yet, but like I am glad to see that like Scott took the chance on streaming because he did it for like 2 hours, and after about an hour he was at like 1,400 people watching him live on YouTube, and I instantly messaged him. I was like, dude, forget everything I said that you need a Twitch. Like fuck Twitch, like you need to do this maybe once a week or once a month or something, because the money that was being thrown around and the excitement of whenever he said someone's name, you could see like them in chat, like it was going by so fast as ever. It was I've never seen anything quite like
streams, that. 1,400, that's crazy. I think I had like 870 the most when I did a stream.
And that
these numbers we're talking about, imagine going to a show with your band and you have 870 people just there to see you. You're not supporting a big band. You're there and you have 870 people there. Like, to me, that's insane.
Dude, it's insane.
And 1,400, that's like double that.
Dude, and it was fast and furious, and like when people were being shitty in the comments, they didn't stick around long enough to even be like anything that registered. You're like, oh, that guy's gone. Oh, that guy's gone. Like I couldn't even imagine managing that.
Yeah. I don't think people understand like how big a platform YouTube is and how big an influence like these big YouTubers have. Like, like for real, I think like with power comes great responsibility, but like you know, Scott or Jeremy, you could probably make or break a company if we wanted to.
Sure.
Like, because this industry is so small, and these people have 1 million views every month. 1 million freaking people. Like, how big a percent of the hobby is that? That's like 30%, 20%, I don't know, of active people.
Sure.
It's crazy.
Do you think for you live stuff is going to be more of a rotation? Because like seeing that brings excitement, because like as you get bigger, the further away from the audience you get. You're now in stadium territory, my friend, and like there's that weird thing where you want to be small club venue with an audience, and like Twitch is cool because like 250 people watch you on Twitch. Twitch is not built for artists. It's all still gaming. So you can like sit down with like 250 and it's going to be like really touching. That's what Adam is like pulling on there from Tabletop Minions. But I 250
now on Twitch, that's good. Like I remember when I got started, I watched a lot of like Trovarian. Miniac used to stream back then on Twitch.
Yeah.
And there were a few, I can't remember the names of them, but there was always like 20 people watching. If it was a good stream, there was maybe 50.
Yeah.
So that's 50. How much it's grown. Yeah,
it's huge. I mean, like I'm pulling like 20 right now every time I'm on,
which is good. Like that's...
I'm like, you guys are insane. What are you doing here?
No, I like that. To me, everything it's like it's humbling, and I think probably every creator says this, but I think I have the best community, especially on like, because with the Patreon we have a Discord chat that's like Patreon exclusive.
Yeah.
And like that group of people, I think it's 400 people, but every day there's maybe like 50, 60 active people.
Wow.
And that group, it keeps like it's my direct communication to the viewers, and they become more of like a second family,
Of course, sure.
And I wish I could hang out there even more. Now it's like maybe half an hour a day, but it's so many good people. Everyone's just so kind. If there's someone who's having a shitty day, they're lifting him up. If there's someone who loses his job, people send minis so he can still keep painting. So it's like those people are like, it's beyond what I ever could expect from my own audience, and so that's my kind of direct connection to my audience. But streaming for sure, I think it's gonna grow probably even more. In the coming few years. I think another thing is podcasts are gonna grow, because like this format of just like hanging out talking, we talked for 40 minutes about just music industry.
right.
Like for me it's interesting. Like I like just listening to people talk and hanging out, like being in the same room. So yeah, I think you're right, but I don't know where it's gonna go. Up until now I just never would have time for it, because I would do like a video, shoot the B-roll, paint the miniature, edit the video, and then I have 3 kids to take care of, and then it's evening, and then I have to get back to editing.
Right.
But yeah, now hopefully, as I said, like I'm so thankful for everything. Like if I didn't have the patrons, I wouldn't be able to pay my own salary. If I didn't have the Kickstarter, I wouldn't be able to hire a guy to help me edit. And we've already kind of like everything that I was falling behind of this past 3 weeks, I've caught up to it. So hopefully now, like the coming few weeks, I'm gonna go ahead of schedule. So I'll be a few weeks ahead of time in terms of video production. And with that, hopefully I can start streaming and doing that stuff more.
It would be really cool to see, because like I think at this point, you know, as you start, your videos are your product.
Yeah, sure.
And now you are the product.
Yeah.
And that's something that is a weird shift that, like, I remember when I noticed for Scott when that happened, I was like, literally he could do just about anything, and he has, and people keep on showing up. And I was like, this is
the
this
core
is different.
audience is still there. Yeah.
Well, and like, I don't think most of the people that hang out and watch these things are active gamers and or painters now. I think that we have a huge influx of people who are just entertained. Like, I know Midwinter Minis has a huge like audience that just like loves it. You know, Jeremy says the exact same thing. It's like people who like just are crafters and just want to have people who are enthusiastic. Like, I think your positive attitude is more important than the product that you make. You know?
Definitely. I think like there is this theory. Again, I'm always analyzing things, and I would like to learn. And there's this theory that there is two types of content on YouTube. There is content-driven, and there's personality-driven content, and then there's like gray zone between that. But I think if you want to have like a long-term career and success, I definitely think that your personality has to be in everything you do, because there's going to come a time, if it's 5 years from now or 10 years from now or half a year from now, where I get burnt out from painting Warhammer. I get burnt out from talking about miniatures. I get burnt out from, you know, whatever. And people need to be invested in me for me to be able to make videos. And the same thing goes for Scott or Jeremy. And
of course.
And I think it's just like those people who just do like a list, the 10 best figures. You know, I've done those too. I did that this week. But those who only do those, I really enjoyed that video. I like making it, and I think it's a cozy kind of hanging out with me and my friends video. But like, if you only do list videos, if you only do that type of videos where you talk about news, you know, it's the minute you stop making videos about news, nobody's gonna watch because they're not invested. And I forced myself upon people.
Phrasing right there. That was that's a phrasing line. So what do you think your next step is? What's like my new favorite thing in sales? There's the BHAG, the big hairy audacious goal. And you know, I would say that a Kickstarter hitting $700,000 is a big hairy audacious goal, but you fucking destroyed that. So now what's next? Like, what is your next site? You know, what's your next year goal? What's coming up? Because it's exciting watching this development. I didn't even realize it was as short as it was. Like, that's just amazing.
No, so I mean, it's that's a good question. Like, the money was never the goal. It's of course I'm aware of like, I have to be aware of my income for it to work.
Of course.
And I have these dreams of like, when I'm able to get, you know, 200,000 after tax at some point, I might be able to buy a bigger house where I don't have to sit in a basement, which is dark 24/7 and that kind of stuff. I think that's maybe more like a goal for me. Like, I want to be at a point where I can buy a place where I'm not in a basement, you know, where I have windows, where so that's kind of a goal. In terms of like views, like subscribers, I don't, you know, it's just numbers after a while. It's super cool, like when you get to 1,000. That took me like a month to get to 1,000 subscribers, and that was like so crazy for me. And my year goal was like, maybe in a year I'll get to 10,000. That would be crazy. And I reached that after like 2.5 months. And after that, it's just like a big blur. Like, I don't remember when I reached 100,000. I don't remember when I reached 150. So now it's more about like having fun and not having to stress every week about the release, because I was hard on myself doing like at least a video every week, and keeping that schedule is taxing. So hopefully with Victor, I've got here, not today because he is this is one of the days he doesn't work. I'll be able to, you know, have a better schedule and have more fun, not just like seeing the comments and stuff, but actually like in the process of like editing, planning videos, to enjoy that even more. So that's my next goal. And yeah, as I said, the second one is to get a better place to work from.
Yeah, well, I mean, like family life and everything has got. I mean, that's the cool thing, that your passions have turned into something that is, you know, like helping the engine of your family. You know, like that's something that like I never could have guessed that YouTube videos would be that sort of thing. And
especially YouTube videos about Warhammer.
It's very niche.
I mean, dude, it's crazy. That's the thing that hits me. Like every time I talk about it, it's like, is this even real? Like this is not how life's supposed to work. You know, you're supposed to get a job, sell something to people, stand there and like, you should also buy this memory card, because if you buy a memory card, you can actually record stuff to your camera and you get money for selling that memory card. But now it's like, I'm painting, I'm having fun. I'm 30 minutes a day on a Discord talking to like the best people in the world, and I get paid for this. Like that's, you know, it's unrealistic.
But you've carved it out for yourself. Like that's like while it's unrealistic. I think it takes a special someone. You did that, and most people aren't willing to take a chance on themselves. And that is something that I keep on running into over and over again. They're waiting for to have the right camera, to have the right paintbrush, to have the right guitar, or to have the right drummer, or to have the right whatever it is. They're waiting for the thing, and you walked through the door that was sitting there that we're all looking at, you know, and that's that belief and trust is something that is it's unique. It's not not everybody has it.
for me, this was easy. You should try music.
Right.
But jokes aside, it's like I hear what you're saying, and it's definitely applicable. For me, I did that when I was 17 and started the band. That's when I had to get the cameras to record behind the scenes stuff, make music videos. That's when I had to get a guitar, learn how to edit. That's when I had to, you know, all of that stuff. For me, it was when I started my company 10 years ago. So I already had all the camera equipment. I already have all of that. For me, it was just like taking the passion I had. I've been spending 20 hours a week just painting. Now I take that and, you know, make videos from it. And so for me, like that step was, the crazy thing was that I actually started getting money from it, not that I actually started doing it.
Yeah. Are there any YouTube video, like YouTubers that you watch as like your kind of like barometer for what the industry's doing? Like I basically always just watch Jazz's like blog things, because like I don't need to watch his like weekly content video stuff. Like none of that is really that interesting to me. But watching a guy who's like bipolar, up down all the time on what's going around him, and he's just kind of giving it to you unfiltered, is one of those things that I'm like, there is something going on in the YouTube sphere that I never really thought that I would get any sort of insight to. And here's a guy with, you know, 5 million subscribers, just like, here's the truth and get ready for it.
Yeah, and sure. And I think the most positive thing about it is that like you see the struggles that I had as a guy with 5,000 subscribers or with 50 or 100, and he has the same problem with 5 million viewers. With like my best month, I had like 1.3 million views, and for him, like a shitty month is 1/20th of that. And he still has the same sort of psychological things that he has to go through. And I think it's just like in the human mind, sort of like how we work and the reward system and like endorphins and adrenaline and all of that like wave. But yeah, I watch a lot of YouTube. A lot of it, it's just weird stuff. Sometimes you fall down a rabbit hole. For some reason, I've been watching the H3 podcast. I don't know if you know what that is.
Mm-mm.
It's an American couple. I've watched them for like 3 years, and I don't even know why. I just do, and I still do. Listen to them talk, and they often talk about like YouTube drama and how shit goes down, and like I watch them because of their personalities. It's not that I
Sure.
like them. It's just I've grown into their channel.
Sure.
But yeah, Jassa was one of like my biggest inspirations when I started the channel. And I remember saying in like I had this in the collaboration video when I did with him. Like I had some people asking me like, what would a dream collaboration be? And he was like top of mind for me.
Sure.
And so I have to say Jassa is a big sort of guy that I often watch. And then it's just, I talk to other YouTubers. Talk to Brent, I talk to Jeremy, Guy, Trent, Scott, all of those we have to talk to each other. We have to share what's happening, the comments we get. Otherwise we'd go crazy. So
I just don't understand what happens. Like you get a little bit of juice under you, and then there's always somebody's like, you know what? I don't think I like that bird flying that high. Like let's hit it with a rock.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand that mentality.
I think for some people we become a corporation, even though
Sure.
we're the same people working from a basement. None of us are, even with the big Kickstarter, none of us are making a lot of money. We're still, regular working dudes. I would make more money if I was working in Seattle at a tech company at like a programmer level.
Of course.
By a huge margin. But I think just the minute people start making money from stuff, some people are gonna get mad. And
Yeah.
luckily, this hobby is compared to others tiny. Like
Yeah.
Compared to advertising, compared to photography, filmmaking, amount of people pushing you down is just minuscule in comparison.
Yeah, it's and the toxicity that's in the Warhammer community. I mean, it's there like 100%. Like
Yeah,
GW
sure.
doesn't have to you don't have to come out and say, racists are not welcome if they haven't realized that there's a huge fucking problem in their community, and which is like awesome. I'm glad that they did it. I'm actually
dude. Yeah,
really
me
proud
too.
of them for doing that because
Every
everybody
chat I was in, we were so happy that they finally took a stance against it.
it just feels good to know. Like I don't actually really like GW games. I think that like they're they're fun, but like I hate playing 2,000 points of anything. Like the game just crawls, and I don't like watching an entire side move. Like I'm much more of the Warhammer Underworlds. I think that's their best product that they make, but nobody wants to build decks and play with me. I'm like, you guys fucking suck. Like this game's great.
You know what? What's the best thing about having an editor here?
Huh.
We play lunch Underworlds every day.
That's badass.
Yeah.
Dude, that's man, I wish I had people I could play games with right now. Like unfortunately, my game group is all broke up. We're all still isolating. The one guy I play games with, he works at a casino, and the stuff that he tells me about people who come into casinos it's just like they might as well just like cough in your mouth the second that they walk into the place, and you just like he's like, I'm gonna get sick. It's gonna happen. Like it's just a matter of time. Like, oh man.
Dude, I don't know. Yeah, and about like the whole toxicity, it's I said like the positive thing is that they're just a minority, a loud minority, but
Right.
like it's a minority, and most of the people, they're positive, they love other humans, they're encouraging, and like I don't know, like the mindset of getting that angry about a company saying that everyone is welcome. It's like, how can that be something negative? Like, how can it be negative that someone who is a girl is invited?
Right.
I don't like. You have to be really, really in a bad place to come to that conclusion. And I just
Sure.
hope that that these people find happiness at some point.
Yeah.
Um, but to me, I enjoy that statement because it just, it confirms my beliefs that like every human has the same value,
Yeah. Well,
and if you want to make that a political statement, that's on you, that's not on me. To me, that's
dude,
just, human
human rights
kindness.
is not a political statement, man. Like
No,
it's
like it's not a human rights issue even, and like in terms of that, I think it's just like you know love thy neighbor,
of course, of course.
Eh,
That what was the golden rule? Do unto others. Like what?
yeah, sure, yeah.
When did that disappear from a community, right?
But as
Uh,
like for me, the city that I live in, like everyone's welcome, everyone's positive. Like I have not seen that toxicity. So for me, that's I only encounter it online from like various, 4chan or whatever. When I don't go to these forums, but when people link some weird shit that people say,
yeah.
and it's frustrating. But I try to keep out of it because, yeah, it doesn't give anything.
No, and giving them your energy. I mean, like it's just like psychic vampires. They just want a rile, and if you give them a little bit, they're gonna be like, oh
Yeah,
fuck yeah, it's on. Like there's just it's they're the type of people that when the girl in the club says, I'm not fucking interested, they're like, oh well, now I'm gonna
you're,
really
yeah.
no, you are interested now. You acknowledged me. Like you just gotta fucking move on from those people. Eventually, they'll either chill the fuck out or they'll go away.
Can we talk about how What We Do in the Darkness is the best TV series the last 4 years?
Yeah, what the hell? Like, where did that come from? Like, uh, I love Matt Berry.
Yeah,
Period. Like, he is one of the funniest people. But then to get backed up with I can't remember the woman who plays Nadia. She is devastatingly
yeah,
hilarious.
dude.
Colin Robinson.
Oh my god! And I just think like Taika Waititi, the one of the producers, he directed the movie
Yeah.
that they did, and like does so many fantastic movies. I just think like he's a creative genius, and like, yeah, I don't
It's
know.
I
So
don't I didn't know that the show was like I loved the movie. My wife and I
yeah,
like sat back and we're like we watched it and we looked at each other and we're like how did this get made? Like HBO like threw money at them to do that. Like
yeah,
that's absolutely amazing. And
that
then
happened.
the TV show's funnier. Like
Yeah, I
normally
agree. Yeah,
like the topiary vaginas, like it's just one thing that they didn't need to do, but every time it kind of comes up, you're like, oh, they doubled down on that joke, and it's hilarious. It is absolutely hilarious.
yeah. It's just the first thing that came to my mind when you started talking about psychic vampires.
The psychic vampires, Colin Robinson.
Oh my god.
You know, the interesting thing about any of these creative outlets is seeing who the support is and where the hate comes from. Like,
Mhm.
I always feel bad that the people feel like they need to go out of the way to like put other people down. But like I hopped in, like I'm a new kid on the scene. I'm twitching, I'm hanging out, like my Instagram's actually like getting traction. I've only been painting models for almost 3 years now, and like people are finally starting to click on things. I'm like, this is really interesting to see, like all of a sudden there is a momentum underneath this, but
Yeah.
in that same momentum I have like stumbled in like chat rooms and things where people are actively talking shit and I'm like, I'm just gonna sit back and watch this.
Yeah,
This
don't
is
do that.
interesting.
I haven't Googled myself since I started the YouTube channel, and it's probably for the better.
I think you'd find a lot of really good things. Like,
Yeah,
you,
but I know that there's, it's it goes in waves, and but during some point, especially when I released the video where I just went on Fiverr and for fun, I had really fun doing that, asking people
dude,
to
that
paint
was a
me miniatures.
huge video too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and when that one came, I got a bunch of haters that like every time I posted a new video, they had on notifications. They go to the video and they dislike it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like I'm having less of that now, but I'm still still having a little bit of it. So I know that there is negative out there, and I just I couldn't be bothered less. Like they're not gonna have my attention, and that's the positive thing about YouTube. Like you can hide accounts that
Sure.
they don't want to see. So as soon as there's someone who's like close to being a troll, I'm like, I don't want this in my community. I don't want this in my feed. I don't
Yeah.
want to see it. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna hide it from me. And you know what? You can leave 100 comments. I'm not gonna see one of them. Like,
Yeah. And nobody else will too, which is like important, like to remove those toxic people. And like John Ninus just released his first now he's 2 videos into his YouTube channel.
The second one was really good.
It was very good. I was the total fucking dick who was like, I messaged him after I watched this, like, dude, great video. Like, what the fuck did you do to your sound? Like, even getting a shitty mic is better than whatever you did. And I was like, after I sent him that message that, as like, a comrade who's doing this, I instantly felt bad because I was like, oh, he's going to get a million of those today.
Yeah. we know.
We fucking know.
It's so funny. Like the video I did this week with Trent and Guy. The video title is like 5 decades of amazing Warhammer miniatures, and in the whole video we say decade for each decade, and then at one point I say century once in the video, and I think I have 40 comments saying century. What? It's like, are you not human? Like, this is my second language. Sometimes I mess up. Like, it's okay. And it's like in the text, and all of the other times I say decade. It's like, okay, I get it. You heard. I said the wrong thing. Move on.
Move on. Well, I think that there's this weird thing that everybody expects. I mean, and because your quality is so high, everybody expects that like you had a fucking writer to do all of this. That this has like TV production money behind it.
Sure.
And I don't think anybody understands that it's you.
Yeah.
Period. The buck stops there. Like Adam from Tabletop Minions, Wednesday night, he thinks of what he's gonna do. Thursday he records it and uploads it for Friday morning. Like it's one guy. and no script.
Yeah, and I think like the thing that could fuck it up for one of us at some point is that we have nobody controlling our content. A lot of the times my videos are done like literally 3 minutes before I'm supposed to publish it. And there's like, I export, I upload, I have no time to see if everything's fine, if I included some parts where I say something I'm not supposed to say. And like, especially like, it might sound weird, but it's my second language, and I find it like I realize I'm decent at English. I'm probably better than the average human, but some stuff is hard. Like it's hard for me to know what's okay to say, what's not okay to say, especially with like curse words, because in Sweden it's like everybody says fuck, and nobody cares. Like because it's not a thing, and
it's
I know
an
that
expression.
if I did it in my videos, I know that I don't have a lot of young viewers, but I know that a lot of viewers would care if I started cursing in videos. So it's and it could be other things that's like in Sweden it's not a big thing, but if you mention some catastrophe in the States, or mention like once I made a joke about like about Donald Trump, and I got so much shit for it. Like I didn't even add my personal values to it. I just said like as fast as somebody says, build a wall. And I didn't put any value into it, nothing. I'm not gonna state what I think about it now either, but I got so much shit for just saying that thing.
Oh,
And
you don't want to light up my comment section with Squidmar hates America bullshit?
No, to each his own. Like literally, as long as you love thy neighbor, you know.
I
vote
fucking
for
hate
whoever
America
you like,
right now,
you
so
know.
yeah, like, it's all right.
You know.
But I mean, like, so that is actually a really interesting topic, and I know we were like going over the hour now that I kind of asked from you, but like, does that shit even matter? Like, I know having a younger audience is actually important to the growth of a channel, like hanging out with like the 13 to like 20-year-olds who like still maybe live at home and might still have it like expendable income to spend on new badass brushes or things of that nature. Like, it's smart to not turn them off, but like,
and they're like 2% maybe of my viewers, so it's not a big one, but
right.
I know when I was a kid that I would want to be included.
Hell yeah. I mean, like, any of that stuff, like, I remember, when MySpace hit the scene and like suddenly you could like interact with bands that you never had any sort of way. Like, that was massive, and it was all kids. We were all super young.
Oh, yeah.
And
when are you born? Is it 80?
I was 83.
Okay.
You're
an old man.
I'm an old man now. I've got so much that post COVID, I have so much more gray because like just being stressed out, being a small business owner in post COVID, like I'm like, if I grew my beard out now, it'd be almost all gray. It's amazing. But I mean, like, you are the product. So what when does that line of Emil uncensored, like, when can you just like let like your stream of consciousness go and you just run at it and you just do whatever the fuck you want? What is there a line that you can see where that is a thing, or is it always something that you feel that you're going to have to watch?
I think this is another theory that I've had about like YouTube, from analyzing it, and that is like, if you fake who you are, you're fucked, man.
You totally
like
fucked.
2 years maybe, and then shit's gonna hit the fan. And we've seen that so many times on YouTube dramas, and like especially with cancel culture right now. It's like the minute you do something wrong, people are gonna start analyzing every single video that you ever did. And I think if you fake who you are, that's it's gonna take too much toll on you. Like, it's not gonna be worth it. So I try to be me. Sometimes people say, why are you making this type of video? And it's like, it's because I enjoy it. People put way too much, are you only doing Fiverr videos now? And it's like, dude, watch the video and see if it's the same video as the last one. If it is,
I mean,
but
is there a problem if I only do Fiverr videos? Like, if you got a good answer for that one, then we can have a conversation. But nobody has a good answer for that. They're just like, well, maybe I don't want to watch that. Well, would you still watch it? Probably.
So to get back to it, the line from like just letting loose, it's not a big difference from where I am when I record. But with that, I try to keep politics out of it. I try to make sure that everyone can watch it, whether you're 13 or you're 65. I want to make sure that everyone's, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're bi, trans, hetero, cis, whatever the the letter people put on each other, everyone can feel welcome. And that's why I don't try to go like too deep into any direction. So
of course
I'm myself, but in the middle,
right. So I mean, that's good to know that you're not having to ring yourself in that much, because I know for some people, I mean, like, if I was to not swear, while I could do it, it would be very difficult, and I would feel like I'm at work. And that's something that even at work, I'm starting to just let it fly now, because I'm just kind of like, you are in my world right now, and you're pissing me the fuck
And
off.
you're gonna
Like, I don't
yeah.
want to fight with you, but like, you need to know that you've crossed boundaries.
But it's I have kids, and
Yeah.
as I said, like I grew up in a Christian home, so
Yeah.
like you didn't curse at home, and then you grow up, you turn like 15 to 20, and if you start running out, hanging with friends, saying shit, and
Playing in black metal bands, just
yeah, and then I got kids, and then you kind of have to scale back a bit. So I'm used to not letting my mouth run. And it's still like it's hard, especially now, like when we're doing this interview, even now, it's like especially those, fuck, shit, like that type of stuff. I try not to say it because it's so ingrained in me from when I was a kid. Like, don't say it in public.
Fair.
Don't
That's
say it
totally
in front of
fair.
kids.
Well, it's always nice to know that it's there, though. Like, and especially for, like being closer to 40 than 30. Like,
Yeah.
I like to know that there's adults. Like, being able to hang out with Jeremy, not watching him talk about fucking D&D, like, it's just like, this is what I do, and this is who I am, and I'm going to be really intense, and we're going to talk about that. Like, I was like, thank God I have an adult conversation right now. Like, and I don't know, like, that's something that seems to be missing from the culture of like YouTube just in general. It feels like, everything has that same sort of fake ass music and this like gloss of like, I mean, you want it to be positive. It has to be, positive content. You can't just be out there negative and expect growth.
Yeah.
But like, there is a definite change of having like an actual mature conversation. Like it makes me love your content so much more and understand the passion and the control that you have to put into it. And that's why I think I love Jazza's things, like it's just like it's unfiltered.
But speaking of the music, that was a funny comment. I don't get much flack for it. I mostly get positive, like people asking me what music it is. But I got a comment like a week ago. It's like, if I wanted to listen to 70s porn music, I would watch 70s porn. I'm like, okay, just because you don't like the same music as I do doesn't mean that you have to be a dick about it.
Right.
I know Jeremy gets so much shit for his music.
So does Brent. Brent totally does. And fucking leave you guys alone. At least they all have like different identities,
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I select the music that I think is good. Otherwise, I wouldn't have it. Like, and it's so hard. Like, that's one of the things. I have an editor now, and he cuts up like the general shape of everything, and then he puts on music. And I feel so bad because half of the time I change the music because it's songs that like it's close to, like, I understand why he selected it. He probably thinks that it's something that I would enjoy having in my videos, but it's like 2% off, and that's enough for me to like, I need to change this song.
Sure.
So yeah.
Well, I mean, tone is everything, and like Midwinter Minis for me, it like hearing his like spacey ass like it was amazing, and I was like, oh, I love listening to this. And then like his theme song is so good, and then you have like Dana Howell, who has those like really like lo-fi synth like punk bands. And I'm like, fuck yeah. Like,
and then you have Maniac with the death metal.
Like, I love the character, and I hate when I have to feel like that is compromised, and
you have to explain yourself, like, why are you having this music? It's like, because I don't listen to death metal anymore.
Yeah, right.
Sorry.
Do you think you're going to ever incorporate music back into Squidmar? Do you think that that is a thing that would ever make sense for the YouTube?
No. I'm not, like, I was so like burnt on music. Like, I could puke on the like just thinking of the music industry.
Sure.
It's like PTSD. Like,
Oh man.
somebody asked me like, "Do you want to play in a band?" I would be like, "Thanks for asking, but I'm gonna go cry in a corner now."
Dude, that's intense. But like,
it's
do
an
kind of get it.
exaggeration, obviously, but it's like I have no whatsoever, hype about playing music again. Like, if anything, like I've said, this, like, if I found some friends, I would probably do like some Foo Fighters style music,
Sure.
just some rocky stuff to just hang out. But I don't have any time for it. I am way more excited about miniatures, making stuff, making videos, like just like doing, as you said, like doing a stream.
Right.
I 2000% rather do stream than go practice with a band for 4 hours.
The work that goes into a band, oh my god, I'm so glad I don't do them anymore either. Well, shit, man. I should probably let you get on with the rest of your morning, and I should probably try to get some sleep before the sun comes up here, because it's almost 5 o'clock.
I'm sorry
dude,
for keeping you awake.
Hey, I'm in the YouTube Sprint forum where, like, if I have an opportunity,
Yeah.
I say
You're
yes,
gonna
and I'm gonna
take it.
fucking run at it.
Yeah.
I feel much more awake now than I did 2 hours ago. So
The sprint never ends, but it's
as long as it gets more manageable, and I can so my next big fear is, like, I'm having way too much fun doing this. Like, I actually am, like, having way more fun than I expected. And now it's like, eventually, long form conversations, I'm gonna have to shift. And I can always have this, but I'm gonna have to have something new. And so that's the thing that I've been, like, dreaming up right now, is like, what's phase 2? Like, what is the next plateau? Because at a certain point, YouTube isn't going to recommend this to anybody, and it will need a companion to push it, and that is the thing that terrifies me.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, we can. That's a whole other discussion.
Oh
Would
my God,
probably
yeah.
take another 4 hours, but we can do that.
Let's do that another time, man. Let's do it after you've had your $1.5 million Kickstarter. We'll push it.
I gotta move to Luxembourg first, so I get to keep some of it.
I just want you to get a little bit of sunlight, man. I think that's really important.
Yeah. So, Luxembourg.
Luxembourg it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Emil, thank you so much. Is there anything you want to say before we head off, or are you all good, man?
Yeah. I think I'm all good. Thanks for having me. It was fun talking, and
Dude,
to everyone watching, like, you go. You made it through today. You're gonna make it through the next one, and just keep grinding. Try to have as fun as you can.
That's literally my mantra. Like, just try to smile and get through it, because like, get your fun now, because it's not always there.
It's gonna get worse and it's gonna get better. So
Truth.
try manage.
All right, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Have a good day, man.
All right.
Thank you for making it through another episode of Hobby Time in the Murder Basement. I really appreciate your support. If you'd like to continue the support in other ways, I do have a Patreon. The link is down below. Proceeds from that will go to pay for new equipment, subscription fees if I need it, and graphic design stuff. I'd like to help build this channel. So any of your support is, while never necessary, is always appreciated. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If you want to see more hobby stuff, you can head on over to Twitch. I generally stream on Sundays at noon. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.